Okay. Okay, welcome to Programming Rainbow. This video, I have a little bit of a rant that a lot of other people probably may have as well. So this is not going to be a coding video. This is going to be talking about getting help at bug reports and kind of why I started this channel to begin with. So this stuff's been bothering me for a long time. This is actually the reason why this channel exists. So I just want to walk through and talk about it a little bit. So basically, what's going on, there's a little bit of drama going on with the SDL2 and SDL3 and Archlinux, but this is kind of like a bigger issue. So I kind of want to back up here and just talk about it a little bit. So I just started programming not too long ago, a couple years ago, and I'm just a beginner. And I try to understand all the pieces that are kind of hard to find the information, and I'm trying to share that with everybody else, that so they don't have the same difficult time that I had beginning. But I started out not thinking that I could program, and then my son started playing around with Scratch, which led me to play around with Scratch. And then since he enjoyed that so much, I thought, well, why don't we move beyond Scratch? Why don't we move to the next step? And that was Python. And we went down to the library and there was books on Python. And those books on Python were all these Pygame Zero books. And you can see them here. There's lots of them. And they're talking about Python and games, but they're not talking about Pygame. They're talking about Pygame Zero. And Pygame Zero is a bit of a dumpster fire. It's not good because its primary audience are people who don't know how to program whatsoever, don't know anything about programming, and it tries to make it simple, but it hides the complexity to do that, to make it look simple. But at the same time, it's usually broken and it just doesn't work. So this is the worst case. If you're a new person to programming, you don't know what you're doing, you don't know if you're making a mistake or if the underlying code is the problem. This is really terrible. And this is the situation that I came in. I have this book right here. Let's see. I have this book here. I have this book here. I have quite a few of these books that we either checked out from the library or I just own. I think all of these books I just own. Probably these. And we had a huge issue just right off the bat. It wouldn't work. You would try to do the very first couple pages of the books and it simply wouldn't work. And the reason why it wouldn't work was because the library was broken. And so if you and I didn't know that. So don't know what I'm doing, and I'm trying to show my son how to do it, and neither of us know what we're doing. But I will keep trying and trying until generally I figure it out or get so frustrated I finally leave it. So I tried for a while. I don't remember if it was a couple of weeks. And finally I started putting in bug reports. I realized it wasn't even the issue with me. There was what, 3 or 4 different problems. And so these are books that have been published. And if you just open the first pages of the book, the projects just didn't work. And over here, this guy calls himself Lord. And if you ask for help here, they're going to make you feel like you're an idiot. Well, in this case, I am an idiot because I don't know Python and I don't know any of this stuff and I didn't know how to, so I'm a beginner, but that's also the target audience of this project is for beginners, for children or for adults that have no clue what they're doing. And so the issue is one of the bugs was the mouse inputs were only 100 by 100 square because the library initially makes a 100 by 100 square and then resize it to any size that your window is going to be, like 800 by 600 or whatever. So the project in the book, this isn't the first bug, this is a later bug, but the project in the book won't work. And you only know that is if you just keep trying and trying and start printing out all the information from your mouse movements, which is way beyond what a beginner with a first level books would ever be trying. but like I said, I really wanted it to work. So I kept trying and trying and trying. And so, yeah, the Pygame Zero was only picking up mouse movements and clicks from the first 100X and 100Y, the top left corner of the screen, and nothing else. So the game that you make, where you click the dots, doesn't work. And you think you're doing it wrong because you figure, I don't, being a new person, I must not know what I'm doing. I'm doing something wrong. And it's not even the book's fault. It's actually just the library's fault. But the first issue we came with is all the books always tell you to open a screen. And it doesn't refresh the screen. It's just a beginning thing. Just open the screen. And another problem with the library is if you didn't refresh the screen, when you just open the screen, it wouldn't actually show you anything. It wouldn't work. So that was like a bug straight out of the book in all of these books that I had here. Let's see these books. These books right here, if you just open the first couple pages, the very first project you do doesn't work because the library, again, was not doing what you would expect it to do. So they were assuming you're going to refresh the, you would have the update function declared. So it would refresh in a 60 hertz, but the book doesn't tell you to do that. That's later. The first thing is just opening the window, and it doesn't work. And when you do understand what's going on, you can put that function in and just put a pass on it, and it works. But if you're a new adult or a child and you're new to programming, you don't know this stuff. You're just following the book. It doesn't work. The other problem is if you use an LSP, just forget about it. It's all messed up. So that's just a thing that was never fixed. They did fix the 100 by 100. I think they did fix they caused a delay in the opening of the renderer, I think, to solve one of those problems. But those were on bug requests that I requested. But it was just the worst experience ever to ask somebody that I know is much smarter than me why it's not working, and then been like a bit frustrated, like, all these books are published based on your software and it just does not work. And then it was bound to specific versions of Pygame. I'm not sure exactly why. So that was breaking it. And then they had, I don't know if there are other versions. Let's see if there are other versions out yet. I haven't used this in a while. I kind of tell people not to use this. Let's see. There was like a 1.2, 1.3 version. I'm not sure if we're on 1.3 yet. I'm creating a window. So if you did this kind of code right here, it wouldn't work. You would need to define update and just put a pass in it, and then it would work. But again, if you don't know what you're doing, like if you're just following these instructions, it doesn't work. I believe also the install instructions are not correct here either, just off from their website. Creating introduction, installing Pygame Zero. Yeah, this doesn't work as far as I know, because you need to set up a Python environment and everything else. So very frustrating. Just out of the gate, just, like to ask for help was just so difficult to deal with the person, and they're the Lord. So that was my Pygame Zero experience. I wanted to get out of Pygame Zero as fast as possible, so I moved over to Pygame. And I gotta say, this doesn't feel as beginner, but I immediately had an amazing time with this. I don't have any complaints about Pygame at all. I never had to put any bug or anything like that. I didn't want to. I never want to put in bug reports because I feel like you're just not going to get help, and I don't want to ask questions on Reddit and Stack Overflow. This is before the AI stuff came out, so like you'd have to just ask questions there if you didn't know what you were doing. And I didn't really have to do that here. So at this point, I had just enough knowledge where I could start trying to understand the documentation. So here is probably not the best beginner one because you do need to have a bit of knowledge before you can use the documentation as a reference. However, once you do get to that stage, it works really well. It's no issues. They should have used this in the books. And the funny thing about Pygame is if you make the same project in Pygame Zero and in Pygame, you end up with the same lines of code. So there's no reason to use Pygame Zero. But Pygame Zero is incredibly limited and also mostly broken. So for that, and when you hide things, when you're abstracting away too much, you're creating complexity. So yeah, so none of that's good. The whole Pygame Zero experience was just really bad, and trying to ask for help was just the worst thing ever. And it was very frustrating when I realized it was nothing I was doing that was a problem. There was 3 or 4 different problems happening with the library, and it was never my fault. So over to Pygame, had a really good time, but I really wanted to get lower. I didn't want to be working in Python. I wanted to be working at a lower level language. I was really interested in moving down to C because I figured Pygame and Pygame Zero are both based on SDL2. So I just wanted to do SDL2, which is where I hit another snag. But before I jump there, I just want to say if anybody's starting out with Pygame, the reason why they're using Pygame instead of Pygame Zero, instead of Pygame, is because the website looks nicer. It looks more beginner friendly, beginner and child friendly, and simpler. It is a little bit misleading because maybe it's all fixed up now, but I found it incredibly difficult. And also, if you use an LSP, it's a nightmare. The real solution I would suggest for anybody beginning is use Love 2D. I have not had any issues with Love 2D. It seems to just work the way that you would hope Pygame Zero would work. The language is very easy, very beginner friendly for adults and for children. The website is very easy to follow. And again, I haven't had any issues. You will have issues whenever you're programming, because you'll make a mistake or you won't understand how something works. But this is about as good as it gets. I mean, this is the best. This is the GOAT. And if you want to deal with Python, I think you should use Pygame. Pygame is the proper one. But for super beginners, I think Love 2D using Lua is amazing. But in my journey, I was at Pygame and I wanted to go down to C. And I was stuck in this thing where there was just no information about how to use SDL2. It just did not exist. This is a couple years back. I'm in Oxford, which is a college town. And you think that there is information, but there's not. If you go to the library, there was a couple books on using Scratch. There was less books on using Python, which were all Pygame Zero books. And there is no books on SDL whatsoever in any form. There's also no books on using there may have been one book in the entire library community in the whole county for maybe Unity, but I wasn't interested in that. There's like 1 or 2 books on C, but there's just nothing on SDL. And so I end up going here with the lazy foo, and this is made for C++ people. Now, I don't know C++, and I also don't know C, so I'm trying to learn C at the time. And I really want to learn C and SDL, and there's just zero information. And everybody points to this site, and this site looks way, way better than it used to look. This has been improved incredibly. But at the time, it was this website that was for C++ people. And the answer for C people who wanted to learn about C was, oh, yeah, just, C++ is related to C. So, just ignore the C++ part, And if you don't know a language, that's the most absurd thing to say. That's like, you're trying to learn Italian, just go to France and just ignore the French part of it and learn Italian. It's not reasonable. Now, I can read through all this stuff now and understand it completely because now I know C and C++ and all that stuff. But when you're beginning, references don't do anything for you. And teaching something in a different language is not helpful. This is nothing bad on this itself. This is just saying that was the only thing I could find was for C++, not for C. And this was very frustrating. And this is why this channel exists. The not being able to get information. Just C is one of the most common languages on the planet. SDL is written in C. Why can't I get an explanation on how to use SDL in C? Now, there is stuff on YouTube now about this, but when I was trying to learn it, I was stuck looking at there was a, a video from one of the colleges that was just kind of talking about SDL, and it had up a slide on the wall just showing a couple functions in SDL and C. I was just like trying to find any scrap of information about something that I didn't understand. And there was no AI at the time to ask, so it was really frustrating. So I never ended up using this. Although this website looks way better now than it used to look, but I could not use it at the time because it was C++, and I just did not understand what C++ was and what the difference between C and C++. So there was just no way for me to use it. Also, it was loading stuff with bitmaps and other things that I was just not interested in doing. It wasn't answering the questions that I wanted to. So I kind of just trudged through very slowly myself, trying to figure it out until I got to a place where I thought I was writing some okay code, and I kept going back and learning more C and trying again and rewrite my stuff over and over again. And then you get to asking somebody to look at your code. And at the time it was Reddit and Stack Overflow. And these two options are just the worst. They're just, I'm so happy. The good thing that came out of all the LLMs and the AI is that you don't have to ask on Reddit or Stack Overflow because you're not going to get an answer. They gamified it. They made it where people trolling those sites just give the worst answer ever, and they get points for that terrible answer, and you never get an answer. So you never get your actual question answered. And so you didn't learn anything. You just wasted your time, but somebody else had a good time shutting you down. And this is like the last time I used Stack Overflow or Reddit was when I asked somebody to look at my Haskell code for SDL2, because there just was no information about Haskell and SDL2. Like there still isn't. And so I was asking just very as politely as I possibly could, because somebody who knows Haskell, look at my code, let me know if I'm doing this right. Am I do I have some major bug leaks, or I have no clue. I have no point of reference whether I'm doing the thing right. And when I got shut down by a JavaScript person saying that my code may have potential bugs in it, therefore I'm not allowed to ask for a review. If your code has a potential bug, you're not allowed to ask for a review. And I thought the whole reason to ask for a review was to find out if your code had bugs in it, if you're doing, if you're along the right path, or if you're making major mistakes. So I think that was the last time I ever posted. It was just so frustrating. And so my Haskell code wasn't the best. I've since improved it, but I only know from my own brain if I'm doing it right or not, because I've never been able to ask anybody except LLMs. I can ask them, but it works sometimes, other times it doesn't. LLMs is really just the best as a search engine for a specific question. And then only it may or may not be right. But so the issue I had with my Haskell code was I was like, am I doing this right? Also, I have, I'm not sure if the sound is working correctly. And they were like, your sound isn't working correctly. Well, that sounds like you're submitting code with known bugs, so we can't review it. So I'm going to close it down and say it's been answered. Now, the question that I had about the sound, I have never been able to answer. So this question is still ongoing. I think I even have a bug report to for the Haskell bindings on this, and it's also in my video that I showed. And I asked if anybody's watching my Haskell video. I showed the bug that happens. I still don't know the answer to it, and it's probably been a year or two. I've played with Haskell on and off a couple times, and each time I come faced with the same audio issue. And it's not anything I'm doing that I can tell. It's it just doesn't work correctly. So that question has never been answered. Where are we? So Arch Linux. So I love Arch Linux. Okay. The problem with Arch Linux is the Arch Linux community. The Arch Linux itself, I actually like it. I know it's a meme, it's a joke. I started using it because I needed a specific distro, and it fit that bill. So I used to run my own distro like a decade ago, maybe a decade and a half ago. I created my own distro from scratch. I didn't know about Linux distros that much. I used a couple of them, and then I started making my own, and I made my own build scripts, and I made my own update system. And I didn't know anything about programming. I created it all in shell scripts, and I had server stuff going on and everything else. And I didn't know the right and wrong ways to do anything. I just started doing it myself until I had a complete Linux distro and all the different desktops and everything else. And then I just stopped using Linux for a while, and I had a MacBook Air, and I just did other things for a while. And when I came back to Linux, when my son was playing with Scratch, and we had a Pygame, a Raspberry Pi, I realized I didn't want Debian on it because Debian is super old software. I wanted to use the K desktop, and I wanted to use some more modern stuff. And I know Debian's great for like servers and everything else, but you know, sometimes the end user, you want the latest and shiniest, and I wanted to see what's the greatest, all the greatest software, you know. So I wanted something that was up to date, and I also wanted something that I could set up the way I wanted it. And so I ended up landing on Arch Linux. I didn't know any of the memes about Arch Linux. I didn't kind of know anything about it because when I was in Linux before that, I was doing my own thing. So I was never using Arch Linux or anything else like that. So I landed on Arch Linux, and it's amazing until you need to ask somebody a question, and then your experience is going to be terrible. You're going to ask, you know, on Reddit or Stack Overflow or on one of the Arch Linux forums, and you're going to get somebody telling you to read the manual, this and that, in the rudest possible way. And the thing about with reading the manual is it only makes sense if you already know the information. It's a reference if you already know the information or the information around it. And that goes with all this stuff. This Pygame, I could only read this documentation when I already understood how to read this documentation. Before that, I couldn't learn Pygame from this documentation. I can only use it when I already understand enough Python to then start following the documentation. So if you read if you watch my videos, that's why I tell you how to do something, and then I show you where I got it from, what the thing means, so that then you'll know afterwards, and you'll also know how to read the documentation. So my gripe with every Arch Linux thing out there is just answer the question. If somebody asks you a question, you know the answer. Don't be snarky about it. Don't tell them to read the effing manual. Answer the question and then point them to the manual. Say, this is your answer. This is where you find it. So they're like, now I have my question answered. And also I know how to find the answer the next time. Because usually when somebody posts a question, they've already looked for the answer for days sometimes. Sometimes I've looked for weeks. Sometimes I've let it go for months before I actually ask a question. It's like I really hate asking. And by the time you ask, you don't want some snarky person telling you, you know, they know the answer, but they don't want to tell you and why you didn't look the right place. Like even when I'm looking at the Arch Linux wiki, which is really good, but it's really good if you already know what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing there, you don't know what you're looking for, it's not helpful. So I'll look at it and come back to it and look at it and then come back to it like a fourth or fifth time and realize the answer I was looking for the whole time was there and I just didn't see it, or I didn't know what I was looking for. So Arch Linux has an installer called Arch Installer. Now this installer has been broken for years. And this is not a joke or anything like this. I HP Chromebook from like 2013 or something. I have another old HP laptop. I have a Lenovo laptop. I have a tower that I built myself. If I use this, and also this system that I'm on right now, which is a brand new system. Let's see here. So this system, which is not fully supported yet, even on Archlinux, it's not stable and working correctly yet because I have this AI HX 370, but it's pretty good now. I'm using this testing kernel, and I know that the hardware's too new and it's got all these bugs. I haven't sent in any bug reports about this at all. I just know that with time, it's moved from a state where it was unusable almost to it's pretty dang good right now, but it's still not correct. So it's just kind of waiting for, everybody that has one of these similar systems to do their bug report. So I'm just waiting. I'm just always updating, and it's working better all the time. What was I going to say about this? So anyway, so this system, as well as every other system that I've mentioned, if I use that arch install script, it does not work. And I've made videos on how to install Arch Linux, and I've even made videos using that script. And here's the thing. If you use the script, say in a virtual machine, it will work. If you use it on real hardware beside another operating system like Windows, it doesn't work. And I raised this issue, like I didn't know anything about it. I couldn't get it to work years ago, like maybe 3 years ago or something or more. I'm not even sure. Sometimes I still get emails about people like popping up with this issue, still saying it's broken, but I know it's broken because I've used it like a month ago and it's still broken. I've used it a year ago and 6 months ago and a year and a half ago. And when I made those videos, I used it, and it's been broken every single time. So, and their answer is don't install it next to Windows. And now I don't like Windows. I hate Windows. I've never liked Windows, and I really don't like Windows now. So I'm not on the camp of you should use Windows. But if the system already has Windows on it, I may not be the only person using the device. Somebody else maybe needs to use it, or for some reason Windows needs to be turned on. I generally just leave it there. I put it in a smaller partition, and I carry on. And I like on my Lenovo machine, the entire time I owned it, I may have booted into Windows like twice or something. I'm not even sure. On this machine, I haven't booted into Windows since I've gotten it, even though Linux was not stable or working correctly at all. So when I raised this issue, I just got a lot of pushback. And one of the maintainers, I can't remember which one it is. It's probably the head. It's either this guy right here or there was another guy. And I can't remember who it was because it was so far back, but I know he was involved in the conversation. He was so arrogant and just, it was amazing. He told me I shouldn't be installing it next to Windows. And the script that he's building shouldn't even be used. Like, he doesn't need that. Nobody should need that. So the script he's developing, nobody should be using. And all he needs is a kernel and a text editor. And that just blew my mind because I was like, don't you also need an operating system? But the arrogance of that, telling like what everybody else should be doing, is insane. Like, if I don't like Windows, that's fine. I don't have to use Windows. And I wouldn't tell you to use Windows, but if you have Windows, you may need Windows, you may want Windows, or you may be required to have it for some reason that I don't know about. And it's nothing on me if you do have it or not. I could just suggest you don't use it. But I tell you, that script, the last time I used it, was broken. And it's been broken. It's been broken ever since I raised, and I actually raised the same bug report like a year after the first one, realizing and not getting an answer. And I had to go back to the first one where some person had given me a patch, and I had to use that patch Now I just don't do it. I try to bypass the part that fails. But basically, if you're installing next to Windows, and I think if you're using Btrfs, that's the only one I use, it just doesn't work. It just fails. And it's been that way, and it's on all of my devices. So it's not a device specific thing. It's not some specific thing I'm doing. It just fails. So terrible experience asking for help. I don't want to ask for help. I never asked any Archlinux for help again. Again, I love Archlinux, but the people just answer the question. Don't tell people to read the manual. I've read the manual. I always read the manual. Most people are going to do that anyway. By the time I ask the question, it means I can't get the answer any other place, and I don't want to ask them. So their thing is still broken. It's always been broken. I don't know if you guys use Neovim, but I started making Neovim videos, and my most popular video that I have on my channel is just tiny, but my most popular video is how to set up Neovim, and I never wanted to do that because I don't understand Neovim. I don't know that much about Neovim. I don't know how to set it up, but I was forced out to just desperation to do it myself, so I ended up making a video. And it's my most watched video. Like, it's always my most watched video. It is very frustrating because it's very hard to get information and good information. And I want to highlight this because this is Kickstarter. So this is like by Neovim itself, right? This is how to set up Kickstarter. And the silly thing about this is, and I somebody raised a report. It was me or somebody else, and these guys just answered. Yeah, this guy right here, he answered. I know this one did. So the issue is there's a video on this, and TJ, the one that shows up on Prime's videos all the time, he made the video, and he says all you need is one file. And he keeps saying it in the video. All you need is one file. All you need is one file. And he shows it just by grabbing the one file and setting it up. So I'm like, this is amazing. I'm going to follow this. What a good idea. You just need one file, and you don't. It's broken because you don't need one file. You need this whole thing. He keeps saying one file, and in his video, he shows using one file, but you don't need one file. You need the whole thing. And I know several people asked this question, and their answer was, TJ doesn't work with them. TJ's not even a part of them. TJ, we should be thanking our lucky stars. He was so gracious to drop this video on us, but he is not part of their project whatsoever. So I'm like, okay, so TJ just made a video, but he's not part of them. But yet he is part of Neovim. He is one of the maintainers. So that was just nonsense. But then again, TJ kept going on streams over and over again with Prime and everything else, continuing. You just need one file. You just need one file. And he just kept saying it over and over again, like he wanted to believe it. If he just repeated it enough times, it's simply not true. You don't need one file. That's not the way this thing works. And I haven't used it. Well, I tried to use it several times. Again, it didn't work. But the weird reply is that we should be thankful TJ made the video, but he's actually not part of this project. You do need all the files. And I'm like, wait a second, but TJ is part of the project. So yeah, so I don't even know what's going on with that. That's just weird. So we get to the thing today, or for this week. So I was walked into opening a report with Archlinux about this ridiculous situation. Where is it? So I guess Sven, he replaced the SDL2 library with an SDL3 library called SDL2-compat. And so SDL3 is not ready yet. It's not stable. It doesn't work correctly. If anybody has been on Archlinux, they'll realize all their SDL2 stuff has kind of started messing up. It's like got issues. It's kind of, all kinds of different things. And if you look over here at the issues, if you see the issues, a while ago, there's like an issue every month or so. And then recently, there's just a ton of issues going on in the last 5 days. Yeah, right here. 5 days ago, all these issues. And what happened is Archlinux said, I think we're going to remove the SDL2 package and replace it with the SDL2-compat. So SDL2-compat uses SDL3. SDL3 is not stable yet, doesn't work yet, which is fine. Archlinux is all about giving the newest, brightest, shiniest thing. So I'm excited that SDL3 is now packaged up and I can use it. I know it's not ready yet and it's going to be buggy. Well, that's all fine. None of that is a problem. The problem comes in when SDL2 has been removed and SDL2-compat, which uses SDL3, which doesn't work yet, has been put in its place. And so it breaks all the legacy code. And it, well, not all of it. I mean, I'm exaggerating. It's broken a lot of things and it's caused a lot of issues. And the pushback is crazy. So like I said, I just contacted this dude directly. And I'm like, hey, do you know that this is, this is in private emails. I'm like, hey, do you know this is broken now? Is it possible to bring back the original SDL2 package? Shouldn't this other thing be optional or something like that, right? And he's asking me to create a Archlinux bug report. And I don't have access to Archlinux bug stuff. Like, I've never made an Archlinux bug. I don't want to. All the stuff I've told you about, there's years worth of bug reports that I explained so far. I really don't want to deal with bug reports because somebody's not going to answer the question. And it's just going to be a terrible experience. And it's just a waste of time and frustration. So I just kind of asked him and he's like, can you make it, can you make it? And I'm like, I don't have access to the bug thing. They've closed it down because of the AI, people using AI to make false bug reports and all this stuff. So he's like talked me into making an account which needed all these multiple factor authentications. I really didn't like that. It just felt like a breach of privacy to make this account to put in a bug report. And it's like, man, I shouldn't have done it. I shouldn't have done it because what he's replaced this package. It's kind of a rug pull. And all these people are having issues, but we need to go back because I actually put in the bug report. When he said put in a bug report, or I'm not sure if I put it in then or just before, but I put it in on the actual SDL page. Okay. This isn't a super secret bug that I came across. This is basically if you simply open a window and then close the program, you're going to get hit with a ton of memory leaks. And it's not, if you do anything else, if you open a window, play a game, and then close it, it's the same thing happens. So there's no hidden thing happening here. They just never, ever actually tried their own product, which is fine again, because it's open source and it's new and all that's great. But you've just artificially broken all the legacy code for no reason. And so I basically showed exactly what I did here. I just have a simple basic project. I just showed all the files. It's basically just opening a window. I had it broken up in a couple. That's just what I had on hand, and I just wanted to post it. Nothing special is going on here. There's an event thing looking for a quit. There's just clearing the render, presenting it. We're doing about 60 FPS here. It's just a class that's just initializes SDL, does the thing, and then closes. But it also cleans up after itself too. So there's no memory problems. And it's very important to me because I want to know if I'm coding correctly or not, if I'm doing the right thing or not. So I use quite strict flags. And I also use the sanitizer. So I know if I'm making a mistake. I'm not trying to look at if SDL made a mistake. I want to know when I've made a bug, because I don't want to tell other people this is how you do this thing, and I've just done it really sloppily. But apparently they have not even tried it once. I'm not sure what's going on here, but they haven't tried it. So I've posted all the you know, the sanitizer, everything that it kicked out. And again, when I posted this bug, a whole bunch of other people are having other issues with text, with other things going on. And I also converted the above code to SDL3 to see, because I was you know, very interested. I want to play around with SDL3, so I want to see, are these bugs just SDL2-compat or SDL3? So I did the same thing, SDL3, got the same thing back, same issue. Here's another person has a issue, and they've been moved. And so now we have this guy. I don't want to say the name incorrectly. Let's say Ryan. So we have this guy Ryan. I guess he made this joke about don't use X11 anymore, because I was in X11 when I initially created this bug report. I'm in X11 right now because I'm using FFmpeg to record this, but right from this post on until I've just made this video just now, I've been in Wayland. So right when I posted this X11, I immediately switched over to Wayland and been using it the entire time until just now, until the beginning of this video, or an hour or two before the beginning of this video when I was setting the video up. So just remember that I posted this in X11, but then immediately switched over to Wayland. So he's saying it's X11, or is it? I put that I opened an issue here. Again, I was asked to open this issue. I did not want to open this issue. I spent 2 days kind of thinking about it, or a day or two. I was not really. I already have an issue here that I didn't really want to make, and now I'm making another issue in an Archlinux bug place, and I'm like, just Archlinux people and asking for help is just not something I ever want to do. So I've kind of been backed into making this bug issue. And the weird thing is he's immediately saying this thing like the Archlinux people can, what was it? Yeah, they can do whatever they want. Like he's upset that I'm mentioning the Archlinux thing, and it's just a one-time memory leak. So this makes me explain why, you know, like you just got a ton of different bug reports from a ton of different people because Archlinux has been forcibly switched over. I'm just trying to explain that, and it's just silly, right? That's just a silly comment. Now he's telling me it's X11, and this thing of never free table. I don't know what he's talking about. He's probably much smarter than me, but it sounds absolutely terrible. It sounds like something you should never do. So anyway, so he's telling me don't use Windows anymore. Don't use X11. This is kind of a thing that I've heard before in a lot of other bug reports. You're like, doctor, it hurts when I touch here, and the doctor's like, well, don't do that, right? We don't want to find what the actual problem is. Just don't do the thing that causes the problem. But anyway, so I immediately switched over to Wayland because for one, I want it to work in X11, but I also want to know what's going on in Wayland. Is it working in Wayland? I have no issues with Wayland. I like Wayland. I use Wayland generally for KDE, but I also use Xmonad Desktop, which is not Wayland, and I like that desktop. And I also use FFmpeg to record, which doesn't really work with Wayland, or I don't know how to make it work with Wayland. I haven't spent the time. It works out of the box with X11. So I know X11 is the old thing, Wayland is the new thing. I like the new thing, but I also have no issues in the old thing, and I do need to use the old thing sometimes. So anyway, so I'm already switched over, and I'm already tested this right away, and it doesn't work. So this is like 3 days ago. I'm telling him, like, he said it was a joke or something. I don't know. I didn't take it as a joke. Maybe I was just reading it wrong, out of context or something. But it's still broken. And then this weird thing here where they're trying to say that you shouldn't clean up your code. And that's not the way I read it. The way I read it is they're saying you don't have to clean up after yourself. but that's definitely a bad thing. That's definitely misuse of C. You should always clean up after yourself. But they're saying when you do clean up after yourself, make sure you do it last, which is that's correct, you know. So anyway, I'm already using this switch, and so right here, you know, I'm telling him I am using this right here. Boom. Right? Here's the output of that. I'm on Wayland. I'm setting the switch he said. I'm setting the other switch he said. And here's my memory leaks. Right? And here's a different project. Same switches. Here's my memory leaks. And here's a different project. And I'm trying them in C and C++. And I'm trying them with GCC and Clang. Same thing. Okay. And so here's an SDL3 project. And again, these are all in Wayland. They're all disabling this thing where he basically says dbus says you don't have to release the memory, but if you do it, you should do it very last, which that sounds good, but telling people to not release their memory is just insane. Like, I remember the White House saying something about C not being safe. Probably why people just choosing to not clean after themselves and do to do the best practice. So like, I'm a stickler. Every time I write my code, I'm always trying to make sure I'm doing it as clean as possible so I never accidentally make a mistake. Also, when you're doing this, you're messing it up for everybody else who's trying to make sure their code is done correctly because you've created errors that are not in SDL2. None of these errors are in SDL2 that we're talking about so far. These are SDL3 errors and SDL2-compat. So they've introduced errors, and then they're he's trying to say it's dbus's fault, but it wasn't dbus's fault in SDL2. Trying to say it's X11's fault, even though when you're in Wayland, it seems to be Wayland's fault too. And somebody else actually, where is it? Somebody else here, after I post all this, so they're talking about prioritizing bugs. That's fine. That's okay. He's figuring out that maybe he should worry about cleaning up his own code. This person is talking about these problems are in Wayland too. This is a different bug. I don't know what this is, but my original bug, my original thing is SDL2-compat is not ready to replace SDL2. So this whole thing is just stating that fact. Okay. There's, you know, it's great that in the future that may happen, but it's not happening today. And there's no reason to remove, you know, and I had to state it again that all the stuff I put above there was with the Wayland switch. Everything except the very first post was with Wayland and the dbus switch that he said in Wayland. Okay. And somebody thumbed it up, blah, blah, blah. That's 3 days ago. So now we get into this. Okay. So I'm kind of like trying to say the same thing and saying the issue is here and asking, you know, it's great that SDL3 is coming, but SDL2-compat should not be replacing SDL2 since it's not ready. It's not stable. It's not working correctly. People are having problems with FFmpeg or FFplay. They're having problems with text on the screen. They're having problems with like me with the memory stuff. And I also didn't even report this, but it does the same thing again. If you don't refresh the screen, if you just clear the render and display the render, it's broken still. It's like 50-50 whether it will work. So I didn't even report that as a bug. That's just something that I've never seen in SDL2 and now is a new thing. So these people are also, you know, the same thing. This is broken. So you got the guy popping up that doesn't care what happens in Archlinux, but he's popping up here in Archlinux, and it's 2 days ago. So this discussion has finished 3 days ago, and he knows for sure that all the stuff I'm talking about is happening in Wayland, is not X11 specific, and is not dbus specific. Even though both of those two things should be fixed as well, all the continuing issues with memory are not because of X11 and not because of dbus. Well, they also have those issues too, but all the issues I showed up here is where X11 is not in the picture, dbus is not in the picture. Okay, so he's going to go over here and he's going to say, this is 2 days ago after he's read all that other stuff and he's just ignored it, that the issue that I'm having is specific to xlib and where does he put it? He puts it, other libraries, poor behavior. Now, these other libraries, poor behavior, didn't happen in SDL2. They're happening in SDL3, and the other library he's talking about is SDL3, which SDL2-compat is using. So it's weird. Okay, so basically he's claiming that the issue I'm having is not like it's something else, even though I just said this is happening initially in X11, and also, yes, it's happening in Wayland. It's happening without the xlib. It's happening with the dbus disabled. It's still happening, and everybody else saying it's still happening, and then he's popping up here, and it's basically, this is like marketing. This is like mitigation of like image mitigation or something. Like it's working on my machine. What he's saying is something else, and he's claiming that the issue I'm having is not the issue I'm having. So he's restating it. And he's got these releases. So I'm on these releases right now. The issue is still there. Okay. So both packages updated. So I have to correct him. Okay. What you've just said above is not true. And what he was saying in the other post, this is using SDL2-compat, SDL3. There's a whole range of issues, and he did at one point claim it's not fully supporting X11, which is also insane. You need to say that, be like, hey, SDL3 is not supporting X11. That's fine, but also don't remove SDL2. Don't take SDL2 away. Give us SDL2-compat that's based on SDL3 that doesn't support X11. That doesn't even make sense. But it was also not even in the conversation anymore since I was on Wayland. He keeps ignoring the fact that I was on Wayland, and the issues I showed were on Wayland. And he's also was trying to say that, where is it? Did he say it? It's in here somewhere, but he tries to say basically, you're not supposed to release your memory. dbus doesn't want you to release your memory. That is not how I read it. And also, that is not what you should be doing. And I know he's better than me. I'm not a great programmer, but if you're telling people don't worry about releasing your memory, that's crazy level. That's crazy talk. So I've like had to correct him. I'm so annoyed at this point because I don't want to be involved in this anymore, and I know it's not going to be fixed. And I know he's fixing stuff behind the scenes or trying to fix some things, but the attitude is we're not fixing it. Even if they are fixing it, he's saying we're not fixing it. Or it's not our fault. It's dbus's fault. It's X11's fault. It's not our fault. It wasn't in SDL2. It's definitely in your new code now. Also, we don't need to release memory, but it's somebody else's fault. And the problem that I'm having, that he's saying that I'm specifically having, is a one-time memory problem with X11, and I'm clearly showing him over and over again it's Wayland. So again, the timeline is crazy here, and this we have discussed like he's told me about it in the memory leaks now that it's xlib. So this is the second time that he's pulling this, and he's also been playing around in the other thread. So I'm telling him again, he's rewriting the history here, and I'm going back and rereading. I'm like, what is this guy talking about? So I'm literally saying, like, where is it? He's not representing the facts. He's not representing what I keep saying over and over again. And he's changing the narrative. And I say he's gaslighting. Okay. Now, this should just be a bug report. None of this should be relevant. This dude shouldn't be up in here doing this. If he has relevant information, he should be, but instead he's trying to keep the status quo. He's like, no, what I'm doing is great. And it is, I love SDL. I have no issue with that. But if it's a bug report, it's binary. Is this a bug? Is this not a bug? Did you remove SDL2 and replace it with something that doesn't work? If your SDL3 has a different set of things that it supports, that's fine. But should you have removed the other one? That's what this bug report is should it have been removed, and is SDL2-compat, should it have been an option? That's the whole issue going on here. And that was everybody else that was basically an Archlinux over here with all their issues, all of these issues. And some of them are stacked on other, like some of them have multiple issues mentioned inside of them. So he's like repeatedly reset, like telling them, oh, this is the problem that Programming Rainbow is having. And I'm saying, no, it is not. Stop changing my words. This is just like crazy time. I don't like this at all. If somebody asks a question, I try to answer it. If I don't know the answer, I'm just going to say I don't know it. If it's something that is a problem with my thing, even though it's annoying that I made a mistake, I'm just going to say that was my problem. And if you read through my videos and the people that ask questions on my videos, the very last person that talked to me, he said there was some bug thing and I didn't know what it was at first. And I asked more information on what he was doing. And then I tried it out on my system. I'm like, oh, okay, I see. The system's been broken from under me, but it's not his fault. It's my fault. Like since he's using my script, it's my bad, not his bad. So I just told him immediately, my fault. I'm looking into it. Let me see if I can fix something real quick. And I'll give you more information. And then I finally fixed it and gave him the information. I don't try to tell him, no, you know what your problem is? Your problem is actually a different problem. You're actually using a different system than you're really using. And so I think you should just not use that system, or just, wait or something. So this person is given the bro high five. This whole thing right here is just political. What is it? He's just given a high five. We need to tell the maintainers how great of a job they're doing. Clap, 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 clap. SDL2-compat's amazing. They're doing an amazing job. I'm never saying they're not doing an amazing job. I'm just saying SDL2 not ready, or SDL2-compat should not replace SDL2. But yes, SDL3, you guys are doing a great job. Love the work. So happy for it. It's open source. It is great. Like, there's no question. I absolutely love it. But if we have a working thing, why are we replacing it with a broken thing? So this whole thing right here has nothing to do with bug reporting. This is just Chris high-fiving Ryan after me calling him out 2 times for falsifying what I've said and did. And then he's saying I'm frustrated. I am frustrated at this point because Ryan keeps I don't know what he's doing here, but it looks like he's doing looks like he's trying to make his project look better. And I'm not trying to slander his project whatsoever. I'm trying to say that there's a bug. That's it. That's it. I'm not saying it's not a good project. I'm just saying it's a bug. It's messed up people's stuff, and it is. So this frustrating, and then he's upset that I'm using gaslighting. I'm like, hey, if you want me to like give you the timeline and show this to you, I know what gaslighting means. And it is a bug report, and this SDL 2.2.2 compat 53 did not fix the issues. Again, I have had to restate like 5 times that this is a bug report. He doesn't care it's a bug report. He's laughing, giving high fives, this Chris guy. So these guys are this is just every experience I've ever had. Okay. The bug is people got rug pulled. They got their SDL2 library replaced by SDL2-compat. It's not ready. It's in a like an alpha state or a beta state or something. I don't know. SDL3 is in that same state, which is great. because we're on Archlinux, we like alpha beta software, but we don't need alpha beta software for SDL2 because it's old and it works and we already have it. It's there. It's like, imagine if the first couple months of Wayland being out, they're like, yep, we're just going to remove X11 now because we have Wayland and you have X Wayland and everything's great. Everything will work. And that's no, it doesn't. You use Wayland, you understand it's not stable yet. It's getting better, but you can also use X11 if you want. That's fine. You know, that's the great thing about open source software and Arch Linux and everything else. But the absolute worst thing about Arch Linux is asking somebody for help. This is why the Reddit and Stack Overflow fell off a cliff the second that large language models existed. Because if I can ask a question just to anybody who's not involved in these organizations, I will do it immediately. Like, I don't ever want to have to ask these people for questions. I felt like I didn't really want to post this bug report to begin with. It's still the same bug. It's still currently the same bug, although I'm on an X11 system right now. So if I show it to you, you'll see it from the X11 point of view, but it's still the same in Wayland. So let's see, what's this? So I want to show people how to make yellow snow, right? So if I go here and I'm telling people how to make it, and I say make, clean, and I'm using the debug to make sure I'm not making any mistakes, and this is going to turn on my sanitizer, right? And I run it. If I haven't made mistakes in my bug, it should be clean. And if I was running the SDL2, it would be. C++ is a bit slow. So I close the program and there it is. Okay. So this is telling me I got all kinds of problems going on. Now, before they switch this, I could do this all day long and it would be fine. This would let me know immediately if I have allocated memory and I didn't release it, which would tell me if I'm making a mistake, which is really important to me because I'm not a seasoned expert programmer. I want to make sure what I'm doing is correct. And if I tell somebody else how to do it too, I really, really, really want to make sure what I'm doing is correct. And since I already know that I don't want to ask somebody else for a code review because I'll never get a code review answer, and I have no way, of asking on Reddit, Stack Overflow, I can ask the LLMs, and that is sometimes helpful, sometimes not, but sometimes it is. I already do that. But what is also helpful is using the tools I have, like the sanitizer, to make sure that I'm not messing up. So my question is has anybody over there at SDL3 just made a open window? Like, watch this. So if we just open up the simplest project, I know it's more than one file, because of what I'm doing here, but so I have a main. I'm just creating an instance on the stack of a game class. I'm running init, or SDL init. Actually, this will change in a later video, but the first video, I don't have a game in it yet. I'm just running in the SDL init method and the run method. So that's all that's happening there. And in game, here's my, let me show you the H. I have the initializer list here, which is just the window and the render. And then I have the two methods here. And here are my smart pointers. And I want to make sure I'm doing all this correctly. This is why I would use the sanitizer. So I got my window, my render pointer, and then in SDL init, I am initializing SDL. I am resetting the, I think it's a shared pointer for this one. I'm resetting the pointer for the window because it's null initially when the class is created. And I'm doing the same thing for the render. I'm resetting the pointer. I'm creating the render, right, because it's a smart pointer. And So in game, this is my cleanup script. I am resetting the render. I'm doing this manually here because it's the game one. Because if I call this, if I were to just call SDL quit, the problem is these two would actually, their memory would be freed afterwards at the end of this call, this method call. So I'm resetting them here so that their memory is freed first before I quit SDL. So all this stuff, I want to make sure I'm doing it in the correct order and everything else. So in my game run, I'm literally just opening, I'm sorry, I already have the window created. I am clearing the render, I'm presenting the render and waiting 5 seconds. That's all I'm doing. So if I were to build this video one, sorry, source, I think it's 01, isn't it? 01, yeah. Okay, and I'm using my debug flag because I want to make sure like I'm checking my own stuff, right? And this may or may not work because of a different bug. Okay, it actually worked this time. So sometimes this doesn't even work. The window doesn't even get created correctly. But there it goes. It stayed open for 5 seconds and it closed. And what's all this memory that I didn't clean up? And this is very, very frustrating. That means I can't build any project with SDL and know if I haven't made mistakes because. And my question is are they just not doing a sanitizer at all? Are they just not following any best practice? I mean, maybe not the release, but on their debug, they're just doing nothing. These aren't hidden bugs. Let's see here. What was I? So I'm going to run it a couple times. Let me clean it and do a release. This will not trigger the memory. Oh, it doesn't close. Sorry, it doesn't close because it stays open for 5 seconds. I don't have in the first video, I don't have the shutdown thing. So now if I just run it again, I don't even need this. Oh, I did need that. Okay, that was my bad. I don't want to run the whole project. I just want to run the open window project. Oh, it did. Okay. Was it still pulling from video one? Let me do this again. Sorry. I think that was still from video one, but I just want to make double sure I'm showing. Okay. So I keep trying to close it. It's my fault. Okay. So I don't know if it happens in just Wayland. It might just happen in Wayland because, like I said, I've been in Wayland since he initially said it's a X11 problem. I immediately went over to Wayland. So it looks fine here, but in Wayland, this wouldn't work. It would show me the render wasn't there. Like, let me show you real quick. If I were to just kind of remove this present, it's going to show it to me messed up. And this is like reminds me back at I'm going to do the release one. This reminds me going back to Pygame Zero, same thing. See this right here? This is what would happen in Wayland. Because I would need to put a delay up here. My hack workaround was to put another delay here before the renderer clears and displays. Yeah, so it's all kinds of messed up all over the place. It's just it's cool that we have access to SDL3, but why have they replaced SDL2 that is stable, functional, we know it works, with SDL2-compat that uses SDL3 that's a buggy mess? We have all these games and other projects that are using SDL. Why break all that for no reason? There's no upside, there's no benefit. So I just don't understand what they're doing. But I I don't want to make a bug report to them again. Like I said, I'm on this system right now that is buggy because it's not supported correct, but I'm on Archlinux. That means that I'm probably getting those updates as soon as possible. I probably have a more current kernel than anybody else, unless I were to compile it myself, which is not something I want to do. Which I was doing actually before they put the new kernel in their testing. I was compiling my own kernel, but that's just growing pains because my hardware is so new that it's just not there yet. And it's understandable. And I'm not going to, there's no reason for me to put in a bug. I'm just going to wait. And within a month or two, it's going to be fine. It's already been way better than it was a month ago. But it doesn't make sense for SDL2 because you've chosen to break it for no reason and there's no upside to breaking it. You were like, we're going to add this new stuff, but we're also going to mess up all your old stuff. But we don't really have a reason for it. We're just going to do it. We're going to high five each other, tell each other how good we're doing, maybe laugh about it. He's got a little, what is this? A little laugh emoji, got a little tear in his eye. It's funny. I just don't get it. And I think this is the meme. This is why people hate Arch Linux or Arch Linux people, is because I love using the software. I just don't want to interface with these people with no interpersonal skills whatsoever. And just, it works on my machine. Like why you're not doing the thing I'm doing. And I don't want to do the thing you're doing. That's why I'm using Arch Linux. Yeah. So that's my rant. I carried on for a very long time, just complaining. But I totally understand when everybody else is also having these issues. That is why if somebody asks me a question, if I know the answer, I just tell them the answer. And I do try to explain it if I can. I do try to point them in the direction. But the very most important thing is just answer the question. Just answer the question. If there's a bug in my thing, which many people have raised, a little stuff that I know about, I try to fix it the absolute best way I can. And I don't try to put the blame off on somebody else and be like, it works on my machine. If I do not know the answer, I just say I don't know the answer. If you're using a system that I can't even like troubleshoot, I'm not, I'm not going to tell you it's your fault or whatever. I'm going to say I don't, like have access to that. I don't know about those things. So I'm not going to try to like tell you I know something I don't know. But if I do know the answer, you just answer the question, right? And if it is a bug, if I did something wrong, but I shouldn't be like, well, it's your fault or you're doing it wrong or something. No, just fix the thing, Or if you don't want to fix it, at least tell them how they can do it. But if you want to keep doing the thing that you're doing, like somebody may say that something in my script is not right or something, and there may be a reason why I'm doing it. So it may be that I can say this is the way you can do it if you want it differently, but I'm doing it this way for a specific reason. You know what I mean? Just try to be helpful. And I don't understand this like gaslighting that's happening. The Ryan dude, I just don't understand him. He's there like this is like product management. This is like there's a big fallout from this, kind of like all these issues raised and stuff. And he's like here to tell people it's their fault or something, or to keep telling them the thing they're saying is something else actually. And this is the thing I forgot as well. When I initially put in a bug report here in Pygame Zero, Lord Mabe changed my bug report. He changed the title of it and what it was, and I had to push back and say it was something like he's in this environment or something like that. This is in this specific situation in this environment. And I'm like, I'm not in that environment. I never said I was. Why did you change my title? That's weird. But it seems to happen a lot. So that's one reason why I don't ask questions. I do want to ask questions all the time, but it's one reason why I don't officially ask questions. I try to read other people asking questions, or ask AI or Google or whatever to get the answer that I can. But it's also the reason why this channel exists, because I just want to tell people this is how I know how to do it. I'm going to show you exactly what I'm doing, and I'm going to show you where I got the answer to it from, because it is frustrating. Sometimes I have to go down a rabbit hole. So I want to not just tell people the answer, but tell people how I found the answer where they can find it next. So like 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 this whole thing, I explain it like when you get to the audio section, they don't even have the information on the page sometimes, and you have to go into the header files and stuff. So if you've seen my videos, sometimes you see me dropping into the header files. I'm not an expert person. I'm just explaining to the best of my knowledge, and also to help that next person. So they're still learning. They still got to do all the learning themselves, but it's there's doesn't need to be this massive barrier where there are people not giving out information or making it difficult or making it such a bad experience if they ask for help, to just not help them, maybe high five each other and laugh about it. I don't like any of that stuff. So all the meme stuff about Arch Linux, the people, the rudeness of the people, and read the effing manual. No, the manual is amazing. The Arch Linux manual is great. You should definitely use it. But if you can't find the answer to your question, you should be able to ask somebody. Somebody should just answer your question, and then they can also point you to the place in the manual where that answer is explained better. So if this happens to anybody else watching this, please, if you had a terrible experience when you asked a question, please next time when somebody asks you a question, to try to give them a good answer, at least a good answer that you can give them. If you don't want to give them a good answer, just don't answer them then. There's no reason to answer somebody and give them an awful answer. Anyway, that's my rant. Sorry I carried on for a very long time. Anyway, yeah, that's why this channel exists. Because I don't know how to do this stuff, and then I figure it out and I try to help other, I figure somebody else probably has the same question or the same situation, the same thing going on. And maybe this information will help somebody else. Yeah. So yeah, thanks for listening to my rant, and have a good day. And remember, if somebody asks you a question, please try to answer them. Bye.